Joe Rogan is sounding the alarm over one of the biggest mysteries surrounding Jeffrey Epstein's case, why the client list and black book still haven't been fully exposed. And according to newly resurfaced records, some of the most powerful figures in politics, business, and government may have far more knowledge of this story. But that's only the beginning. New claims about what allegedly happened on Epstein's island and at his New Mexico ranch continue to surface. Questions are being raised about missing evidence, buried secrets, and investigations that seem to have stopped just as they were getting somewhere. The deeper people dig, the stranger this story becomes.
Oh, FBI concluded Jeffrey Epstein wasn't running a trafficking ring for powerful men file show.
So, there you go.
Oh, there you go. That's the gaslightiest gaslighting shit I've ever heard in my life.
Whoa.
Despite millions of pages of records and documents being released over the years, one question remains unanswered. How can a case this large produce so much evidence while resulting in so few consequences for powerful people connected to it? Victims have been identified, witnesses have spoken out, and files continue to emerge. Yet many of the names associated with Epstein remain untouched. Meanwhile, officials are signaling that parts of the investigation may be reaching their conclusion. That announcement has left many wondering what happened to all the evidence that was once promised to the public.
Rounds the Jeffrey Epstein files after Bondi claims tens of thousands of videos. Tens of thousands. Jesus Christ.
I'll tell you what.
Chill. Oh my God. Was reviewing tens of thousands of videos, the wealthy financier with children or... The comment made to reporters at the White House days after a similar remark to a stranger with a hidden camera raised the stakes for President Donald Trump's administration to prove it has in its possession previously unseen compelling documents, or just bomb Iran, and everybody forgets
Just bomb Iran, yeah.
Everybody forgets about it.
That brings us to a major concern. If investigators claim to possess enormous amounts of material connected to Epstein, why does it feel like so little has actually been revealed? To understand why critics are suspicious, we need to look at how some of the individuals connected to Epstein have been treated. Joe Rogan recently highlighted an email that immediately caught his attention. What makes it so controversial isn't just what was allegedly discussed, it's the fact that a key name remained hidden.
Sultan Ahmed bin Sulayem sent the torture video to Epstein. This is in 2009. So Epstein was saying that. Where are you? Are you okay? I love the torture video.
Jeez.
I am in China. I'll be in the U.S. second week of May. What the fuck, man? And why is his name redacted? Why would your name be redacted if you're not a victim? Like, this is what's crazy about all this. Like, how come you redact some people and you don't redact other people? Like, what is this? This is not good. None of this is good for this administration. It looks fucking terrible. It looks terrible. It looks terrible for Trump when he was saying that none of this was real. This is all a hoax. This is not a hoax. Like, did you not know? Maybe he didn't know, if you want to be charitable. But this is definitely not a hoax. And if you've got redacted people's names and these people aren't victims, you're not protecting the victim. So what are you doing?
Right.
And how come all this shit is not released?
According to Rogan, that detail changes everything. If certain names are being concealed while others are publicly exposed, people naturally start asking why. Critics argue that protecting identities only fuels suspicion and raises more questions about what information is still being withheld. At the same time, many officials have dismissed broader theories surrounding the case, yet the sheer volume of communications, travel records, financial connections, and witness accounts continues to keep public interest alive.
This is the one that I hate the most.
Yeah.
Because this one scares the shit out of me. Because the fear of, we talked about this yesterday with Roger Avery, the fear of these like literally demonic human beings that are running the world and don't give a fuck about human lives and enjoy watching people being tortured, enjoy watching people killed, participating in ritual sacrifice of people, and they do it in order to show that you're a part of a team and we know that has always historically been a real thing. And it's been something that you look at in history, you go, God, it's so sick. It's so twisted. It's so disgusting. And everybody wants to think, thank God that's not happening now. But then when you realize, like, that might have been happening now.
The controversy grows even larger when attention shifts to the people overseeing parts of the investigation. Critics point out that decisions involving individuals connected to Epstein have often sparked public backlash. Because of that history, every new development is met with intense scrutiny. Trust has become a major issue. For many observers, it's no longer just about Epstein himself. It's about whether the public is getting the full story.
You said this is the end of the Epstein, of your review of the Epstein files. So just to clarify, is the public going to learn the identities of the men who abused the girls with the information that you're releasing? And if not, why not? And then I have a quick follow-up.
I mean, you just baked in an assumption into your question that I have never said and I don't know to be true. Is the public going to learn about men that abuse these girls? Like, what does that mean? I mean, I don't understand what that means.
Well, I mean, they're the men who abused the young women through Epstein's,
Look, we said in July, and it remains as true today as it was in July. If we had information, we meaning the Department of Justice, about men who abused women, we would prosecute them, right? We talked about the work that we're doing. That's why I said that. I said this earlier. There's this built-in assumption that somehow there's this hidden tranche of information of men that we know about that we're covering up or that we're choosing not to prosecute. That is not the case. I don't know whether there are men out there that abuse these women.
Rogan has argued that what we're witnessing looks less like transparency and more like damage control. Whether people agree with him or not, there's no denying that public confidence has taken a hit. And then there are the statements from high-profile officials who have been questioned about their own interactions with Epstein. Every interview, every denial, and every contradiction only adds fuel to an already raging debate.
While the people who are on the files visited the island and then they still work?
It was unbelievable.
Some people had to resign from some jobs.
Well, especially just him, because the way, there's something about a really confident liar, like where they just, because I mean, that interview clip where he's like, let me tell you something, I met Jeffrey Epstein that one time, he had a massage table, he said they were sex massage tables. I went right back to my wife and I said, honey, we are never hanging out with Jeffrey Epstein again. And that is that, you know?
Is
like,
that really the quote?
Oh, dude.
I mean, haven't seen that.
I don't know if it's verbatim, but that is the exact spirit of it.
Probably pretty verbatim.
Oh,
let's listen to it.
Listen to it.
We'll
I'm
find it.
very, very close to exactly what he said.
Okay.
Let me get this one again. What was this one?
Lutnick interview about Epstein. Okay. And he just sounds, I mean, so like morally outraged about the idea.
There's so many people that they exist in that world where you just pretend that you're a different person. You pretend you're one way.
Yeah.
You pretend you think things differently.
Yeah. And he opens the doors and there's a massage table in the middle of the room. And candles all around and stuff. So I ask very insightful, cutting questions. I say to him, massage table in the middle of your house? How often do you have a massage? And he says, every day. And then he gets weirdly close to me. Ooh. And he says, and the right kind of massage. Ooh. Now my wife is standing here. So she looks at me and I look at her and we say, I'm sorry, we have to go. And we left. And in the 6 or 8 steps it takes to get from his house to my house, my wife and I decided that I will never be in the room with that disgusting person ever again. Really? So I was never in the room with him socially, for business, or for even philanthropy. If that guy was there, I wasn't going because he's gross. And so I look back at it as a gift.
Yes.
He gave me a gift.
Yes.
Of a void. And so, yeah, that's my story. A one and absolutely done.
Right.
Questions have also been directed at government agencies and officials who previously spoke openly about Epstein-related records. Critics have noticed a striking difference between what some people said before taking office and what they say now. That sudden shift has led many to wonder whether certain files are simply too sensitive to release. Whatever the reason, calls for greater transparency continue to grow louder.
During the FBI, you railed against it for covering up Jeffrey Epstein's human trafficking ring. Let me refresh your memory with this clip.
Why is the FBI protecting the greatest pederast, the largest scale pederast in human history?
Simple, because of who's on that list.
So you finished that December 2023 interview with a challenge to the FBI and harsh words for Republicans in Congress for not getting the Epstein files out to the public. You can see this clip.
Boy pants, and let us know who the pedophiles are.
Put on your big boy pants and let us know who the pedophiles files are. You said you emphasized that the president and FBI director each had complete authority to release Epstein's client list. You said Epstein's black book is under the, quote, direct control of the director of the FBI. Look at this clip.
This is way off the topic, but who has Jeffrey Epstein's
Black book?
black book?
FBI.
But who? That is, I mean, there's...
Oh, that's under direct control of the director of the FBI.
All right, so you were sworn in as director more than 200 days ago. Now the black book is under your direct control.
The list of people who crossed paths with Epstein has fascinated the public for years. Business leaders, royalty, politicians, scientists, and celebrities have all appeared in discussions surrounding his network. Of course, being associated with someone is not proof of wrongdoing, but many people still find it difficult to understand why influential figures continued interacting with Epstein long after serious allegations against him became public knowledge.
More people have an understanding of how things are really working than ever before.
Yeah.
Like this Epstein file thing, right? That was a big eye-opener for a lot of people. When you see how many people after 2008, after he was arrested, after he went to jail, were actively taking money from him. MIT took money from him and tried to hide it and said to make sure that any donations from Jeffrey are listed as anonymous. So you find out like people are like, they referred to him as Voldemort, like you couldn't say his name.
Wow.
There was a lot of people that met with him and did business with him and traveled with him after he was arrested, after he went to jail.
Do you spend a lot of time reading them?
No, I try not to. I try to have experts come on. I try to read. You can't change it.
Yeah.
And it'll f with your head.
Yeah, it's
like
toxic.
You will really get.
It'll stick with and I know I've tried not to.
Yeah.
I haven't read any of them.
As investigators face increasing pressure from the public, attention has expanded beyond Epstein's Island to his other properties. One location that repeatedly surfaces in discussions is his ranch in New Mexico. Emails, reports, and various claims connected to that property have generated intense speculation. Critics argue that authorities had access to certain information for years, yet meaningful action seems slow or non-existent.
One of the craziest ones. The day he was indicted, in 2018, the very next day he ordered 330 gallons of sulfuric acid.
What?
Yes. He ordered 6 55-gallon drums of sulfuric acid to be delivered to the island. And so there's a lot of people online saying, oh, that was probably for his desalination plant. It's probably like a regular thing they need to order. So then someone else did a deep dive and said, no, this is the first time.
Another question keeps resurfacing. If Epstein's operation was as extensive as many believe, who else witnessed what was happening? Employees, contractors, workers, and staff members would have been present at many of these locations. Their absence from the public conversation has fueled countless theories. And that leads directly into one of the most controversial claims surrounding the entire case.
Jeffrey Epstein's Island, a lot of people don't talk about his ranch in New Mexico.
Yeah, and his mansion. I mean, it was popping off at all his spots.
He built a 26,700 square foot mansion with a sprawling courtyard and living room, roughly the size of the American home. Nearby was a private airstrip with a hangar and helipad. The property also included a ranch office, a firehouse, and a 7-bay heated garage. Yeah, that sounds like an intelligence agent right out of a movie.
Yeah, and we're never
luring all the politicians into the honeypot. Yeah. And how many people died because of that?
We're never going to know. They're never going to let us. We'll never know.
What a genius con.
Yeah.
What a genius con. You get some guy, you say he's a billionaire, you just give him like a blank checkbook, which when you're spending $170 billion on Ukraine and $136 billion here and $46 billion there, we got to upgrade that and just let these people in, and that costs $30 trillion. Like fucking, what's a billion?
That's right. Yeah.
What's a billion to control literally the greatest scientists and entertainers and politicians, and just get them all convinced?
Yeah.
Look, Bill's here. Look who's here. Stephen Hawking's here. Look, this guy's here. Look at this, Nobel laureate's here. Look at all these brilliant, esteemed scientists. Look at these amazing conversations. Look how beautiful these women are.
Some researchers and commentators believe Epstein's activities went beyond trafficking and exploitation. They argue that his network may have been used to gather compromising information on powerful individuals. If that theory is true, then Epstein himself may not have been the ultimate decision-maker. Instead, he may have been working for people operating behind the scenes.
The point I'm getting to here is, given Jeffrey Epstein's involvement in the BCCI network, given Jeffrey's involvement in the 1990s with all the foreign policy activities happening in the Middle East at that time, given Jeffrey Epstein's, involvement through, the early 2000s Clinton era and everything, given his involvement in everything from Israeli to Saudi to British to French high-level government officials, Jeffrey Epstein was investigated by the SEC in the 1980s. He was one of the two people who ran the biggest Ponzi scheme in history at the time in the United States, the Towers financial collapse. Epstein's business partner goes to jail for like 30 years or 20 years or whatever. But Epstein skates completely free. Epstein gets involved in this huge fraud in the U.S. Virgin Islands with this, $1 billion fraud case in the U.S. Virgin Islands. Never prosecuted for any of it. Why is that? Well, one is, he may have, we know in the U.S. Virgin Islands case, he was sponsoring the campaigns, basically, of the politicians there. The prosecutors answer to the politicians. Could be that. But I would be shocked if there, in 40 years of this Where's Waldo, Forrest Gump, he's always in the room, in 40 years of American foreign policy and intelligence.
That possibility raises an even bigger question. If influential figures were being recruited, cultivated, or connected through Epstein, who was organizing it all? The idea that scientists, politicians, billionaires, and media personalities could all end up in the same orbit has led many observers to believe that something much larger was taking place than the public currently understands.
Let me just get real and say,
if I gun to your head, what do you think your best assessment of what Epstein, who was Epstein, who was he working for?
Well, I don't know, right? So I'm just guessing. Everybody wants to say he was working for the Mossad. He very well could have been. He could have been working for the CIA. He could have been a guy who was on his own, but also working with them. Right? Like a guy that they used, but they never fully endorsed.
Like an asset?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a guy who could move money around.
Right.
He definitely...
Good at laundering money.
The moving money around stuff was very weird because he had money through no way that anybody could ever explain.
Yeah.
He had an enormous amount of money through no way that nobody could ever explain. Which, if you're state-funded... You're funded by Israel, and Israel's funded by America, and there's also NGOs and nonprofits, and there's ways to move money around where you can give this guy money.
Yeah.
So he was like Weinstein, who is an economist, right? Weinstein's a legitimate mathematician.
Eric?
Yeah. So when Eric met him, his first inclination was he was a fraud.
He's a construct.
Yeah, a construct. And did he tell you the whole story about the girl sitting on his lap?
Yep.
So Epstein, while he's meeting with Eric Weinstein for the first time, has a beautiful girl sitting on his lap, and a woman, I shouldn't say girl. He said she was like in her 20s, and she's sitting on his lap, and he's bouncing around, so her tits are juggling around. While
he's asking math questions.
Yeah, talking serious. So he was obviously nerd fishing. He was fishing for nerds, and I think he caught a lot of nerds in that net.
And according to critics, influence doesn't always come in the form of pressure or blackmail. Sometimes it comes through money, relationships, and access. Financial contributions, political connections, and strategic alliances have all become part of the broader discussion surrounding Epstein and the people connected to him. Whether those links are meaningful or coincidental remains heavily debated.
I'm in the files for not going.
Huh?
Yeah, I'm in the files for not going. Jeffrey Epstein was trying to meet with me.
Oh, I did see that.
Yeah, and I was like, what?
You're like, no thanks.
Yeah.
Aren't you glad?
Yeah, but I would have never went anyway. It's like, it's not even a possibility that I would ever went.
But
especially after I Googled him. I was like, what the are you talking about? This was like 2017. One of my guests was trying to get me to meet him. I was like, bitch, are you high? Like, what the are you talking about?
For what reason would you? What would be...
If I was a guy who was like sucking up to the rich and powerful, if I was really interested in hanging out with rich and powerful people.
It's crazy. That's so crazy. But yeah, some people
get intoxicated by being in a circle of rich and powerful people, even if they're not like they don't even have any ambitions of being one of those people. They
Yeah.
just want to be around them. They want to
Yeah.
be around Nobel Prize winners, and
Yeah.
because this guy what he was doing was very clever in that he was getting all of these very powerful and very respected people together.
Yeah.
And you would figure like, oh, it's
If that
safe.
guy's there, if that lady's
Clinton's
there.
here. This
yeah.
is fine.
Right.
Clinton's here. How
Yeah.
could this be bad?
Yeah.
Look, it's Steven Pinker. How could this be bad?
Yeah.
You know, he's a genius. Like, and so you would go, I would imagine.
One thing that continues to frustrate many observers is the issue of redactions. Time and again, names have appeared hidden from public view, only to later become known through additional disclosures or political pressure. That pattern has convinced many people that important information might never have surfaced if outside pressure hadn't been applied.
If you have another minute, why don't you stay on and we'll talk a little bit about your reaction to the Commerce Secretary, Howard Lutnick, stroking a check for $5 million to the House Republican super PAC while he was negotiating to testify to the House Oversight Committee about his relationship with his next door neighbor, Jeffrey Epstein. What was your reaction to finding out that he thought it was okay to write a $5 million check to the group that was going to interview him?
I mean, truly, you can't write this stuff, right? Like, this is stuff that, like, I can't make it up. I talked to all the other survivors and we're like, who is writing this? This is a bad SNL sketch. Like, even SNL would be like, throw that out. That can't really happen. That's totally illegal, right? I wish I knew how that was even possible and how it's legal. You know, he lived right next door. If you were on that block, you saw girls coming and going all the time. And I think to myself a lot about Maria Farmer's abuse in 1996. And then the fact that I was there in 2004, my abuse could have been stopped.
At a basic level, many people struggle to believe that a single individual could maintain an operation spanning multiple properties, private aircraft, international connections, and countless associates without assistance. The scale alone raises difficult questions. How did Epstein gain access to some of the most influential circles on the planet? How did those relationships continue for so long? And who helped keep everything running?
There were 6 wealthy, powerful men that the DOJ hid for no apparent reason. When Congressman Massey and I pointed this out to the Department of Justice, they acknowledged their mistake, and now they have revealed the identity of these 6 powerful men. These men are Salvatore Navora, Zorab Mikoladze, Leopig Leonor, Nicola Caputa, Sultan Ahmed bin Sulayem, CEO of Dubai Ports World, and billionaire businessman Leslie Wexner, who was labeled as a co-conspirator.
The Jesus out of the Bureau. You weren't ever on Jeffrey Epstein's jet, were you?
I was on Jeffrey Epstein's jet 2 times. I was on it in 1993, and I was on it and I went to Florida with my wife and 2 children to visit my mom over Easter. My wife had some kind of relationship with Ghislaine Maxwell, and they offered us a ride to Palm Beach. So I went then, and on another occasion, I flew again with my family, with I think 4 of my children,
Perhaps the most troubling question of all is why so many victims have spent years dealing with the consequences, while numerous powerful figures remain untouched by the scandal. That imbalance has become one of the defining frustrations of the entire case. For many people, justice feels incomplete as long as major questions remain unanswered and key details remain hidden from public view.
It's so brilliant and ancient. It's like an ancient strategy, you know, and it was... first of all, is there another one going on right now that we don't know about?
Of course.
Like that, at that level?
Of course.
It seems like that guy
so
was
effective. Why would you stop?
I think you need a combination of things to do it at that guy's level. By all accounts, he was a brilliant guy, which is wild, right? And you have to be also a sick fuck, which he obviously was, and also an intelligence agent. So do you just become that sick fuck over the course of, like, you know, you hear about DEA agents, they start dealing drugs. Once they get in there, they're like undercover, and then they live the life, and they start actually dealing drugs. It happens.
Yeah.
Do you think like maybe the guy just became a sociopath, psychopath?
So fascinating.
From just dealing with the life that he was, that's his job. His job is to trick politicians into underage girls and get them cooked up and bring them into this place that's cameras everywhere. The email that I sent you, Jamie, where he's talking about children for sex. Do you remember, you know the email I sent you, Jamie? I sent it the other day. I'm like, well, that pretty much sums it up then, because he actually said it. Oh, yeah. Find that. I sent it to you in a text message. This one's crazy.
I've heard
So he's having a conversation with a woman who says that she heard that there's a place. Here it is. She's very emotional, kind, loving, sharp. I think you could become friends too. So here it says, a friend, Eliza, told me about a project she's doing researching a really bad guy that gets children for sex sent to his island. She almost fainted when I told her that person is me.
Wow.
Like,
yeah.
What? Okay, so that's just there. There's no way to interpret that any other way. That person is me.
That person is me. I'm
Children for sex sent to his island. That person is me. Holy shit.
And that brings us to the question at the center of this entire story. Was Jeffrey Epstein simply a criminal acting on his own, or was he part of a much larger network operating behind the scenes? The debate continues, and opinions remain sharply divided. But one thing is certain. Years after Epstein's death, the public is still searching for answers. What do you think? Has the full truth already been revealed, or is there still much more to uncover? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss an update. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.